Welcome back into the show. It's time for our Law and You segment sponsored by Gieg and Jancula. Well, today we are on site at Gieg and Jancula at the practice downstairs in the basement, which they actually consider this room, if you can believe it, their library. We have all of their archived books and records. We're here, of course, with another familiar face, Christopher Jancula. Chris.
Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. You've got us here in your territory.
Yes.
So this is kind of the old school of way of doing things, the way that you learned originally?
Yes. I've been practicing law since 2004, and I got to learn the old way of doing things. So I got to learn the new way, which is we have a wonderful little system. I call it Google for Attorneys that we pay a lot of money for every single month, and then we can look up cases and do things.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the day, and for years and years and years, how we used to do things is through all of these books here. And we would have to keep these libraries up to date. And in fact, whenever I got here in 2011, we were spending about $28,000 a year updating books, updating all of these records. It was crazy how we used to do it.
But that was the norm?
That was the norm. At my old firm, we spent thousands and thousands of dollars everywhere, but now it's all transitioned into just doing it over the computer system. But we'd have to look it up old school ways by looking at the numbers and finding this and matching on the back of the book here and seeing exactly what and finding it through all these books. Yes,
Oh my
it was
goodness.
crazy. And then you had to go through another book to make sure it was still good law.
And even when it got updated, your receptionist would have to add in the
Yes.
newer version.
Yes, they would have to. Now, this one doesn't have it, but they called pocket parts. And so our receptionists and our secretaries would have to go through and spend a couple days a month updating all of these books in this room.
Yeah, it takes up a lot more space than Google.
Yeah. We kind of keep this now just because it's neat and it's
It is.
nice and it's history and it goes back to literally some of these books are completely old. I should have looked before to see because I know that we have some from like the 70s, 60s, maybe even
Wow.
50s here.
It's almost antiques
Yes,
at
yeah.
this point.
That's
Yes.
right.
Well, and okay, because your start with law, I mean, I know you went to Mount Aloysius and then went
Correct.
further on to law school.
Yes. So I went to law school up at Harrisburg and went to Widener University and then graduated and I went and was Judge Capriva's law clerk. She was a president judge of our county. Then I went to the DA's office, loved working at the DA's office, but only did that for about 2 years because I had to pay the bills. And unfortunately, working for the county doesn't pay the bills as well as going into private practice. Went and worked in another firm for a couple years, and then Mr. Gieg called me up and said, hey, I'd like you to join with me and my practice that has been around forever. So,
And you got a few years on Mike, so you actually started here before he did.
yes, started here in 2011. And then Mike joined us in a couple years after that. And Mr. Gieg unfortunately passed away in 2016. But I got to know him. I actually had some cases against him back in the early 2000s. And he respected me and liked me so much that that's why he asked me to join with them.
Oh, so it all worked out.
That's right. Absolutely.
And interestingly, too, like Mike had touched on, too, just law in general, how it used to be a lot more generalized and you maybe were able to cover a lot more topics where nowadays people kind of have a niche of what they focus on.
Yeah, of course, I do Social Security, disability, I do workers' compensation, personal injury, and Mike does our wills, trusts, estates, real estate. But yeah, back in the day, you could be what they call a general practitioner. And now we have to focus more because these books have just grown and the electronic information and resources that we have is just unbelievable.
And you gravitated towards what you practice, and that just particularly interested you?
Yeah, well, at my old firm, I actually worked for the insurance companies. And so I did defense work, and then I was like, I wanted to go for the good guys and help people that are injured.
Yeah. And now you do that today, so people are able to come in, get a consultation, call, and you can kind of assess their needs and go from there?
Absolutely, yes. Of course, for our workers' compensation and our personal injury, it's a free office consultation. And I mean, give us a call at 814-946-1606 or go to gieg-law.com.
All right. You've got them covered. Thanks so much, Chris.
Have a good one.